Okay, so this video is going to be going over how I like to laminate tabletops, especially, or go for anything, for legs, etc. If you're going to laminate for thicker legs and glue ups. So this is how I do tabletops. There's a combination of ways to do this. There's different opinions, and I've been doing this for a few years. And my favorite is I'll kind of reveal at the end. But there's, like I said, to me there's three to four, possibly five different ways. The first way to me, and my favorite, is the biscuit. I think it's the fastest. Definitely creates a little bit of alignment for you for glue up, and just works the fastest. Besides just glue. Now you have the dowels, which I don't typically use. They have Dominoes, which are best for alignment and glue surface, but they take a little longer. And they all use glue, obviously, or you could just use glue itself. So that's about it. So we're going to start this video. The sound's not going to be great, since I don't really talk on a mic, and it's going to be live in the shop and me demonstrating. But just bear with me, and the steps are pretty clear, and we'll show the results at the end. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be laminating three tops. There's six altogether, well seven, but for this I'm going to be laminating three oak tops. They're just about 1 3/4 inch thick, and they're very width, like 10 and a half, I think 2 and 1's 9. So we're going to be laminating them. So the test I'm going to be doing today, not so much a test, but quickness and kind of how they look after they're clamped up. See how much they line up, how much of a seam we have. These boards are not all equal, but they should be pretty much the same. They're milled up at the same time. I'm using the same clamps. The only difference is I'm going to be using a Domino one with 6x40mm Dominoes on one set, and I'm going to use a biscuit joiner on the other, and then I'm going to use just glue on the other. Obviously the glue is going to be fastest, so we're going to time each one and see which one kind of looks the best kind of after it's done, if you could tell a difference even. I obviously can't test the strength because that's going to tell over time. But for right now, at least get results and see how they look after the fact. We can look at the seams, see if they're lined up, how much clamping pressure, how many calls I have to use, or if at all, or if put clamps on the edges. The Dominoes are supposed to line everything up, so are the biscuits. So Dominoes supposed to be the best. So we're going to go with the Dominoes, and I've done this in the past, and I already had my idea, but I guess we'll run it. I'm going to time it on my phone and see how long it takes to do one start to finish with the Domino, one start to finish with the biscuit joiner, and one start to finish with the just glue. And same clamps, everything. So let's start this now. Okay, so obviously there's a milling process with this, and they're all going to be milled up at the same time, and these are just clips from various milling steps. Typically I start the miter saw, get a straight edge, whether it be on the jointer or the track saw, depending on the length and thickness of the wood and heaviness. I have a benchtop jointer, so I'm limited at times with that. And then obviously we take it to the table saw after we get one straight edge. They get the second straight edge, and then we plane everything. So that pretty much steps. They were all followed the same steps on all these boards to make everything equal. I'm getting ready to start. I'm going to start my timer when I start. So just a little quick note. So I mark each one of my boards so I know which one's going where. Like this one's going to be A1 or C1, whatever, and they're going to be lined up that way. So I know where I'm kind of going to go. And when I start to mark for my Domino points, I will start the timer. But I also want to let you know that I'm using Type Bond 3 for all three boards. I'm not using any type of glue. I'm just going to be rolling it on with a little cheap brush and just tapping the Dominoes in and the biscuits in with a little mallet. But otherwise, we're going to get ready to start, and we'll start the timer once I start marking these up. Okay, so now I'm going to start the timer now, as we're going to start marking out and putting the Dominoes in the first set. Timer started. Alright, so let's start marking out where we roughly want to put our Dominoes. One's here. One here. We're just going to put 3 on each one. Since these boards aren't too big. And so I know my orientation. I always like to put the triangle. So I know how to put them back. Okay. Alright, so let's pull the domino out, and we'll do this first one now. And we're gonna, for the first one, we're gonna do in the tight setting. We're gonna do this one tight set, and these three in tight set, and these three in the loose setting. So we have a little room to maneuver these around. Okay, so domino. For the tight setting. This piece right here, these are dominoes. This is in. So now we're going to be ready to start clamping up. I'm using the same type of clamps. Fabric clamps on the bottom, and I'm using pipe clamps and that style clamps to finish it off. Okay, so now we're going to put it back in orient it like how we marked it. Top of my triangle here. Okay, so we'll take the middle one. This is the other side. We're going to flip this up. This is where we're going to put the dominoes. And this is our first piece. Okay, so we're going to put some glue on. Sometimes it's even faster. This on the joint. Here. Okay, so this is the Domino laminated top. I did have to put a little extra plate on the end there. It was a little bit of a raise here, just slightly. I'm not sure if it's due to, because the bottom seemed like it was level. Maybe it's just a high piece from milling this up, but there are a couple little tiny gaps here. One tiny one here. And I thought a couple here too. I ended up filling in with some. See it here real close. It's not too bad though, and we can clean this up. But actually, it came out pretty good. And this was probably the 3 worst pieces of wood out of the whole mill up process. They had a little bit of cupping to them, just a tiny bit. So I think these came out pretty good. So we're going to do the biscuit joiner next, and then we'll compare that with the Domino over time, and then we'll do the regular glue up, and we'll compare that. All right, so let's go to the biscuit joiner. Win biscuit joiner, nice little cheap joiner, but it works pretty good. And I have the biscuits right here, and these are just number 20s. Just enough left. Don't need any more of them. And we're just going to mark these up, and we'll start the timer once we start. Can't move this thing. Nobody's noticing. These definitely line up a little easier than the Domino. Hopefully it's not there. I'm going to mill up, or I'm sorry, laminate tabletop with just glue. This obviously is going to be a little faster. It may take a couple seconds longer due to probably having to put like some clamps on the edges here, since there's nothing to really line up. So far I think the biscuit probably lined up the best, believe it or not, but it's maybe been, you know, luck the way the wood was milled. Even though they're all milled together and kind of mixed up, just it might have been luck of the draw there. So we're going to do the just regular, which is no glue, and we'll see how long that takes. It shouldn't take long at all, honestly. It should probably take a few minutes, and just look at the after effects of the glue, the gaps, and how level everything is lined up with the clamps. So we're going to use the same exact clamps. We might use some cawls or some clamps on the edges here, just to keep everything lined up. Since there's, you know, a little bit of cupping going on here, but we'll do that. We'll start the timer now. Timer right now. All right, so let's go. I will say with the biscuit, I was having a little problem with some of the glue coming out on the second board. A little bit on Domino too. This glue bot, I'm not a huge fan of it. Maybe it's just gunked up a little bit, but it doesn't seem to come out as well as I would like all the time. So roll this. Go a little different order here. Just kind of get something spread out here. I always throw extra on too. It's not the greatest brush. It's kind of beat up. There's no fun using my finger right now. Drop this down. Second board. Line them up as best as possible. We're obviously going to be cutting these up later to clean them up. I try to get one side as straight as possible. Yeah, see, there's definitely raised up a little bit. Not too bad, though. This side's a little worse here, but it's not really tight yet. Okay. It's actually not that bad. A little bit here. You start tightening it. You want to move around a little bit, which is fine. We're going to put even pressure everywhere. So I went to some clamps on the edges now before I put the pipe clamps on. You can also use wooden cauls, but this seems to work just as well. The cauls are good for the center though. Maybe I'll throw one on there. This is where this may take a little more time than the Domino and the Biscuit. We didn't have to do as much of this. But it's good practice either way. We'll tighten these up even more to put the pipes on. So this may actually take a little more time and make it closer to the Domino, the Biscuit. Alright, so there's some pipe clamps on. We'll do it one at a time. I'll also tap them down with a hammer, a mallet here. Nice little squeeze out here. It's good. Let's tap it. Alright. There we go. One more in the center here. And this is done. Okay. Tabletop. This was 13 minutes and 41 seconds to glue up with the Dominoes, and I think this one maybe came out the worst. Now it could have been these boards are probably the most jacked up out of all of them. As you can see, a little bit of a high spot here, just a tiny bit. Where the Dominoes is supposed to kind of level it out, but this is a little higher than this. You see a little bit, and it kind of evens out down here. You got a little bit of a gap here, which I'm not crazy about. I don't like that at all. I'll see if I can fix that. If not, I may have to revisit this one. But otherwise, it came out okay. I mean, it came out pretty good. Most of the seams came out pretty good. I guess time will tell how strong the glue up is with the extra glue surface with the Dominoes. But you know, everything came out okay for the most part. This maybe my least favorite, and it took the longest. So now we have the Biscuit. That was 9 minutes and 48 seconds. I think this one may came out the best. Obviously it was the fastest, and the seams came out pretty good. There's a little bit of a high spot here, just a tiny bit, but it's just maybe the way the wood's sitting, but it pretty much evens out. And I'm going to run like a hand plane over this, so I'm not really worried about it, but the seams look really good. Now it could have been this wood was a little more straight than the Domino one. It could have just been unlucky, but I think the Biscuit came out really nice, and I had to put no cauls or side clamps on anything, so pretty much lined up. like I said, it could have just been lucky. So now we go to the one where there's nothing, it's just glue. And this one took 7 minutes and 11 seconds. 7:11. And this one came out pretty good. There's a little bit of a gap here. But otherwise, I don't really see any high spots. But I did have to put the clamps on the edges here because they were a little high. But it's straight. Once you put the clamps on, it kind of straightened out, and it laid flush on the clamps, which is good. So I don't have any bowing or like any lopsidedness. So this one I think came out the second best, but it was the fastest. But the biscuit came out the best. It was just, like I said, it just may have been luck. It was about 2 minutes longer, a little over 2 minutes longer than the regular, but I had to put no cauls or side clamps on the side edges here. I mean, there's a couple little high spots. I mean, millimeters. Can't really see it. I think when it's run the planer over, you're not going to find that. The Domino I thought came out last. I think this came out the worst. Like I said, it could have just been bad luck with these seams. But this seemed to be the longest, and I don't like the results of this one as much as the other two. The others came out pretty nice. So when I sand and clean them up, we'll look at them in more detail, how they look. I'm going to have to mark the bottom so I know which ones are which, or the edges, because I probably won't be able to tell when I'm done sanding, because I have 3 more underneath here that were all glued up, just with glue. All right, so let's go through and start cleaning these guys up. So at the end of the day, I really can't tell the difference between the tops. This one is the Domino tabletop. There's a slight seam here, pretty faint. I'm still a lot of sand in the dough, a little cleanup, but it came out pretty nice. This was the longest one to build, put together by a few minutes, and it still had a little bit of a high spot down here. I believe it was here, so I did to put one caul there, but otherwise it came together really nice, and you really can't tell the difference. Okay, this one here is just the glue. This was the fastest, and the seams came together pretty good. There's a tiny little slight seam here. You can't really notice it with the grain. And down here, I mean, you really have to really look. And like I said, I'm still cleaning these up, sanding. This came together the fastest, and I think, now over time, I'm not sure if this will move more, since there's less glue surface, but we'll see. And then this one is the biscuit only, and this one I thought was the most ideal, the way this came together, at least. Yeah, it's not 1,000% perfect. There's a little slight seam here, and that's probably due to my milling up. These are really heavy pieces of wood. It's tough to go through my benchtop joiner, and I use the track saw mainly, but these came together really nice. And I thought this one was the second fastest by quite a bit, a couple minutes. And I thought I didn't need any cauls for this. Now it could have been a little lucky the way the wood lined up. But this one I thought was the most ideal and came together the best. Came together the best. So, I mean, you could use dowels, you can use just glue. I typically like to use some kind of alignment process. Biscuits are the quickest, so I typically use them the most. I know they don't really add any extra strength, but I think they may add a tiny bit, just a tiny bit, because there's a little extra glue surface there, and it definitely helps with alignment. And this came together really nice. I thought this was the best out of all 3, personally. Now, this is not a scientific test. It's just my opinion. And like I said, all 3 came out very nice. You can't really tell the difference. And there's 3 other ones I did with a combination of the 3, and they all came together. You can't really tell the difference. They all came together, a couple of little flaws here and there, but they all came together really nice. And they look identical. They're all identical dimensions. And we're going to finish them all the same, and that's about it. So these came together really nice. I still have a lot of sand in the dough. We're going to go up to about 150 grit at least, and then we're going to finish these off with some Osmo. All right, so that's about it. So I guess you pick what you want to use, whether it be Dominoes, which are the most expensive and probably think the longest, but I think they also help the most with alignment. If you have really cupped wood, you really could force them in. It's a little more work, but I think they go to better. I think they're the best when it comes to for that. I think Bisquits add a little bit of alignment support, obviously, and are pretty seamless and fast. And they also line up the best, I think, from the aspect of the way they lay out. So, and then the glue only is just time tested. We know that works. Now, like I said, I don't know over time if we're gonna have issues, and usually you will need calls for something like this. Even though I don't think I really needed too many calls for this one, they came together pretty good. It could have, like I said, a little lucky, but these all came together very nice, and I have really no complaints. You can't go wrong with either one, or all three options, and Dale's another option. To me, Dale's take a little longer, but if you have the pointers, it definitely speeds up that process. But it definitely takes a little longer since you'd have to change out drill bits, I think, to have a little wiggle room with the alignment. So you want to be able to move the boards back and forth, which you can do with Biscuits and Dominoes if you set your settings correct, especially with the Domino. All right, so that's about it. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know.